And we're live. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys all so much for stopping by. Today's topic, we're going to talk about something crazy. If you look at the thumbnail, it's related to Russian missiles. But I don't know. Just always got to do something stupid at the beginning. Now, we're going to talk about the current state of the Pokemon market. What? We never do that. But before we jump into it, as always, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. Really helps the YouTube channel out. Of course, lastly, if you want to check out Alex and his content and his channel, link is down in the description below. Alex, you ready to jump into it and talk about some important stuff today, obviously?
Yes.
Nice.
Nice. I don't know what we're discussing, but I am here.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. So here's the big thing, ladies and gentlemen. We need to have a conversation about this. Hasn't really been talked about because it feels like I don't know if it's just me, Alex, but time just keeps moving so fast. It feels like this year's flown by. And with all that being said, man, like we're getting close to the end of summer. Like, guys, I know it's not the same for each state, but at least in Arizona, kids are already back in school. And you're going to have more people go back to school. Things are going to start to finally kind of cool off in terms of, the heat in the next month for most states once we start hitting into September. And like, realistically speaking, we were told, or historically speaking, I shouldn't say, we were told, if you've been around the hobby, you should know this. It's usually been a slower time during the summer. And so far, I don't know about you, Alex, but at least for me personally, sure, we haven't had some sets that, were as high powered as Destined Rivals. But right now, I mean, things still seem to be on the up and up. Products still moving and hitting all-time highs or just on an upward trajectory.
Yeah, I mean, unless I'm mistaken, and again, sales data may vary between different sites or eBay TCG Player, but last I checked TCG Player, I don't think we currently have a box under $220 now. I believe Paradox is there. SV Base, last I looked, was like $225. Stellar's up. Journey Together's at like $225, $228. So even the worst sets now are at $225. And so, you have to look at the best sets. Obviously they're going to be more than that. That's why you have, Paldea, in the mid threes, Twilight high twos, Surging Sparks mid twos. You got Destin over 3. And I just think, we're still in this holding pattern where people are just, I guess, getting used to or not accepting the reality that is the 2025 Pokemon market. We're going on here next year, 3 decades worth of success with the TCG part of the brand that Pokemon had. And every single year, every single up and down, it brings more confidence to the hobby. It brings more longevity, and people view these collectibles and these assets as a safer place to park money more and more each time, each boom and bust period that comes. And I think that's why this boom is more pronounced and longer. And it's probably why the bust is not going to be as pronounced as last time, because again, there's not as much, like, I guess, panic and hysteria as there were after, kind of everyone thought last time was a Black Swan event because it was COVID, it was Logan Paul, it was free money from the government through, all the stimulus and everything. So it's like, I don't know, man. I just think this time's different.
I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Until we start getting real adjustments towards the supply, it's not going to get any time better. Like, product just doesn't dip in this market. The only time it does is because there's like a huge, I mean, literally, like, the last time I can think about how this market acted the way it did was, like Alex said, during COVID. And you had Battle Styles, which people talk about how crappy of a set it was. It was at 150, like, before it finally had some major reprint. And you guys might not think that 150 is that big of a deal, but like at the time, that was like one of the highest pre-selling booster boxes in Pokemon history, especially considering MSRP at the time was around 144. So right now we're in a different market with a higher elevated MSRP and wholesale costs. So it wasn't until big reprints came and obviously fixed it. And I know there's been a lot of swirling rumors going around about reprints. I have talked to my distributors. I haven't gotten anything that can confirm that to be true. And until I get information on it, I'm not going to confirm anything. So In the meantime, I'm just going to continue to go with my bias, which is the trend that is continuing to keep things going upwards. And until we see that, change for, the reason that, in my personal opinion, is the only way to keep things from, continuing to go up, which is supply. It's just going to keep doing its thing.
Yeah, the other thing too is just like the fear mongering is getting out of control because, there is literally in the last 10 years I've been in this hobby, I can only think of 2 major times where reprints, you could say, crashed the price. And that was in 2022 with the sets in 2022. And then there was also back in 2019, or I believe, or in 18 or 19 with Roaring Skies and Primal Clash, or maybe 17. But those are the 2 main reprints I can really think of that actually crashed prices. Every other time, it's been a small correction for a very small period of time. If you go look at the Silver Tempest Lost Origin reprints, they came, they went, they reached all-time highs months after. When Obsidian Flames and Paldea booster box reprints came last year, they came, they fell 10%, they reached all-time highs shortly thereafter. And you can show this for every single set. And it's like, why are we taking the outliers and making that look like fact? It's like you are taking the outliers of a couple times where things have happened and make it look like this is what everything. It's like, oh, if we get a reprint, it's crashing. It's just like, says who? Says when? There's no evidence supports that, especially in a bull market. And so even if reprints end up coming and the rumors are true, guys, in my opinion, expect a 10, maybe 20% correction on some things. It'll probably go stagnant until the supply sells out, and then it'll probably rebound and then eventually to all-time highs once again. So that's my take on the reprint situation.
I mean, it's just going to come down to supply more than anything. Well,
here's the thing, dude. Think about this. Destined Rivals at this point, it's 320, basically 315, 320. Dude, what kind of reprint would have to come to correct the price 50%? That's what MSRP is now, 50%. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen that since, you could say. And here's the thing, Vivid Voltage, all those things, those were not reprints. Those were second waves. Came in waves, first wave, second wave, third wave. So the only real reprints were like what? Chilling, Battle Styles, things like that, or Battle Styles might even been another wave. Anyways, Roaring Skies and Primal Clash were some of the only ones I remember crashing around 50%. Most other reprints, 10, 20, maybe 30% correction. So this idea that it's going to get reprinted and go to MSRP, there's no data to support it. It's just, that's how I feel. So that's how it should be. The facts don't care about your feelings. Neither does the market.
Yeah, like I said, it just is going to come down to how big of a size. I have no clue until we know. It's kind of like with Vivid Voltage. Vivid Voltage was selling for $230 at one point, and then it was able to correct all the way down to $100. We obviously had a correction of Shining Fates because it got freaking printed into the ground. At one point, it was pre-selling for like $120. But unless we get print sizes of that magnitude, a $300 booster box reprint or price, they're going to need a lot of product. I'll just say that they're going to need a lot of product, or else, it's not going to go like crazy. And if you want to go back again to Sword and Shield era, let's not forget, I feel like we reiterate this every stream, but Rebel Clash, Sword and Shield base, they weren't reprinted. Their prices kept going up. They did not do anything. So if you're like, oh, well, all of a sudden base set or Paldea Evolve is going to get, corrected because some of the other Sword and Shield Scarlet and Violet era sets are going to get printed. It's like, nope, that's not how that works. The supply is only going to affect the product that is being reprinted. You might have some stagnation, as we've seen historically with sets, making like a 5 to 10%, slump after they just ran up like 50 to 100%. But realistically, that's typically only happens as like a slight pullback after a huge run up.
Yeah, I've come to the conclusion now. It's like, it's not even worth fighting it. It's just, I'm just kind of waiting for April of next year. I'm just waiting for April of next year. We're going to get the party poppers out. We're going to get, we're going to start having a party, and we're just going to celebrate the out of print date. And then everyone can just go cry home and complain that Pokemon should have done something. They shouldn't have allowed these sets to go out of print. It was as high as they are. And then we're going to wait another year for all of the middle block and later block of Scarlet Violet to go out of print. And then in 2027, we'll have another party in that April when that block goes out of rotation. And that's basically That's how I'm going to handle it. Cause it's so stupid at this point that, you know, this whole, everything's going to get printed to the ground. MSRP is going to return. Don't buy, don't buy, don't buy. Let me ask you guys something. From the time you heard don't buy, the first time you started to hear people tell you not to buy, how many products and how much money have you lost in all those products by not taking action? Okay. Do the math. Do the math of how much everything has risen since people told you not to buy. Now convention, just randomly pick a few sets that go to MSRP after a reprint. Did it still even outweigh the gains that you missed out on by not taking action? Likely not. Which means what is the always thing to do? Take action. If things do get reprinted, dollar cost average back into them. That is the correct way to go. If you're sitting on the sidelines, crossing your fingers, waiting for a reprint, maybe you'll find an entry point here or there. Likely it's not going to be very few and far between though. So I don't know. That's all I got, man.
Like I said,
I'm worn out.
I mean, I've been in this hobby long enough to know that it could go either way. It just really comes down to size of the print. But let's talk about some items that obviously we have been seeing move up. I mean, you kind of briefly mentioned it. Destined Rivals, it's at 315 right now. Like a month ago, it was selling for right around 250. I mean, what's our kind of predictions on that item, you think, at this point? I mean, it feels dumb not to just say more upwards trajectory. I mean, how are we thinking about the momentum?
It's already higher than I thought it would go.
Shocker.
I don't know how it slows down because here's the problem. It's just like Prismatic Evolutions where it's one of the most open sets still in the hobby. And so more products going to keep getting deleted, meaning eventually the booster boxes rise and everybody flocks to the bundles, the sleeves, everything else. And then eventually that gets eaten up and the prices rise and the people will go back to the boxes. And so, yeah, man, I don't see it really stopping until we get more supply, just like they gave us more supply of Prismatic and it stunted the growth of that for some time. And so without more supply, it's hard to say it's not going to keep going up.
What are your thoughts about Lost Origin hitting $600 a booster again?
Love it, man. I've been, you know, buying out collections and you know, just we've been, you know, really making more of a collection and buying and selling more part of the business lately. And I don't know, man, the last couple of collections, I bought a bunch of Fusion boxes. I bought a bunch of Lost Origin boxes and something said, you know what, just don't flip these quite yet. Let's sit on them. So I'm feeling pretty good right about now on the Lost and the Fusion runs.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to see like it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen here in the next month or two with Lost Origin. Cause realistically, like, it made a move from 530, 540 to 600, which is like maybe a little bit above a 10% gain. In my mind, we don't see really small gains on a lot of these Sword and Shield era boxes. Like, it felt like watching Fusion go from 400 to like, I mean, I don't know what it's at right now, but it was like $700 or $800. It was done within less than a month. And so I'm not saying this to like have people FOMO into Lost Origin, but I guess what I'm trying to articulate here is if we see some of these boxes start to like go on a run, like don't be surprised if it happens pretty aggressively. I mean, listings are obviously going to play a factor. You tend to see that a lot where there's a small amount of listings and then it just gets run up and then a bunch of people will add their listings and then it'll kind of course correct from there. But I mean, if we just look at the chart from literally a price of when it went from $483 all the way up to $800 for Fusion Strike, it was at the end of April and it happened the first week of June. So literally it was just a little over a month is when it made its huge run up. So yeah, I don't I don't know. That's kind of where my mind is.
Like, put it this way. If summer did not slow this market at all, and we literally are basically at the end of summer, I think most kids are back in school in the next 2 to 3 weeks, if not already. And I mean, what do people think is going to slow it? I mean, we're going to be moving into holiday season. Everyone knows sales volume and prices always creep up in this time of year. I mean, I know there's always constant, depending on which, I guess, news network you watch, you're going to hear different information on the economy. But as far as I can tell, yeah, there's people upset about prices and things are a little more expensive at the grocery store here or there. But otherwise, I mean, the overall numbers are still looking good as far as like, you know, the stock market and everything's concerned. So I don't know, man. I just, unless again, some black swan event, World War III, economic collapse, I just do not see the market is slowing down. Money's going to take the path of least resistance. It's like water, right? Money is like water. It takes the path of least resistance. And so the path of least resistance right now is less supply, same or more demand, means prices will continue to move up, up, up and away until something changes. Demand really drops off, money supply drops off, tons more product is dumped on the market. It needs something or the trend just continues.
Here's another one. I know we have said that if there is a reprint that happens, this is probably going to be the one that gets hit the hardest. Journey Together, the price of the box is pushing 230. You've got just about 2 listings that are below 230, and then after those 2 get eaten up, then it's 230 plus. And it was sitting at a range between $200 to, I want to say, 210 for maybe a month or 2, and now it looks like it's starting to make moves again. It's not doing it as fast as some of these other sets, but it's still moving.
Yeah, man. I almost wish I would have picked up more, but I mean, I said from the beginning, I think even on your stream, I said, I think it's a good idea to have some of this because of the box topper. Like, even if it does get reprinted, I just find it highly unlikely they're going to reprint the enhanced boxes. And so I just think having the first box with a box topper like that in any modern set, I just think it's always going to be unique. It's always going to be the first, even though Mega Evolutions is going to have a box topper, it's still going to be the first. And I think that's going to play into the long-term value of the box. Like, I'm not sitting here trying to like convince anybody it's like a super strong set or anything, but just that alone is going to make it collectible.
I mean, let's talk about strong sets, and maybe this is a weird segue to start with it, but specifically black and white, we've obviously been having a question of, do we think right now at the current price it feels like a good deal? Obviously, if we're comparing it to Prismatic in terms of the price to access ETBs, it feels relatively inexpensive from what we've kind of been feeling, with MSRP obviously being, not too far away from it. I mean, it's listed at 82 for white and 86 for black. And you got to assume that if you're going off market, you can probably get it somewhere into the low 80s, maybe mid 70s if someone's giving you a good deal. Taking a look at Black Bolt, I mean, we talked about it briefly before stream, watching the Seismitoad and obviously knowing the implications of why that card is as expensive as it is because of the cult following behind the artist. But the strength of a lot of the singles, like, don't get me wrong, there's obviously some cards that are making their corrections as they should, but you still now have multiple cards within each set that are selling well above $100. I mean, specifically, obviously, people want the Black Bolt one because it does include that, Seismitoad, which is going for 200 along with the other ones. But I mean, White Flare, even though, black is more preferred, it's still a set that has, let me see where we're at. Yeah, 3 cards are still going over 100, even though the High Dragon is right below it. What are your thoughts on that?
What's funny is when black and white were released, right? You had a lot of people really upset at their allocation numbers, at the, worried that there wasn't going to be enough available, right? Remember that? And it just goes to show that Pokemon knows these markets better than you think. I mean, say what you want about Pokemon not printing enough product availability. It's not over $100 in ETB. It's been falling. It's in the 80s. Like Eli said, maybe you can find someone selling the 70s. I mean, we're talking not too far over MSRP on the secondary market, where you have a box like Destined Rivals going to 300. So obviously, it's not bad. If they would have printed more, you probably would have seen these under MSRP possibly if they would have like really heavily printed these. And so I think Pokemon's doing a good job of not overprinting and running things into the ground like they have multiple times in the past, both in Sword and Shield and early Scarlet Violet era, but also finding a way to keep it to a more reasonable price point. Again, I'm not an MSRP or die type guy. I'm just more reasonable. And maybe that doesn't even look like MSRP in the future. Maybe it's 130s, 140s for booster boxes. Maybe it is MSRP for ETBs. I don't know, but I think an $80-ish ETB seems relatively healthy right now. That's my take. I don't know.
So here's I mean, we're obviously talking about all the items right now that are performing well. You know, like you said, I agree with you. It feels reasonable at those prices. I mean, especially if we're talking about from a long-term investment perspective. If you're someone that can get an absolute metric ton of this at around $70. I mean, let's say that, they reprint the set into the ground, right? Because it's not that far off from MSRP. Let's say it goes to MSRP. Your dollar cost average is only going to be about $10 above MSRP. Like, that feels super strong. So I guess my thing is for me personally, I think that makes sense as a buy. We've talked about 151 in Prismatic product. Has that kind of changed for you? Prismatic ETBs on TCG Player, they're still in the low 100s. I mean, 151 loose packs, we've obviously talked about it.
Well,
Has that kind
let's
of
talk about
changed or
that.
stayed the same, or?
Let's talk about that. Prismatic ETBs are in the low hundreds. Prismatic ETB cases are going for 1,300 plus. And that's my kind of my hypothesis beginning. My theory is that because Pokemon is not running them through traditional distribution and they're running them through Costco's and Sam's Clubs and other things like that, there's no cases. They're being lumped in with other products. They're being sold as single ETBs. Therefore, you have a shortage of actual sealed cases, which, as you guys know, in collectibles, scarcity is what runs the hobby, which is making the sealed cases much more sought after. So people are willing to pay 130 plus an ETB as a sealed case. And so, if you guys are wondering, full transparency, Alex is pumping Prismatic. Yeah, I'm pumping Prismatic. I did just pick up 18 cases recently.
Whoa!
18.
Hey, how much did you buy them for?
95.
95 is pretty good.
So if you guys want to know, is Alex putting his money where his mouth is? I'm starting to take on.
I mean, dude, if you just think about this as a long-term set, like, once again, going back to it, MSRP is still 50 for ETBs, right? For specialty. Yep. So, like, let's say it drops, goes down to 50. We're talking somewhere in the middle. You're right around $72. You're not going to be mad about that if this is an ETB that goes to well over $200. Like, heck, at that price, I feel like you're not going to be upset. Prismatic, honestly, as crazy as it sounds, it just feels like such a good investment still to be picking up heavy amounts of. Sure, it sucks for storage because it's ETB, but, like, realistically speaking, just what you're getting as, like, a secure investment, at least in my mind, for specialty sets, it just feels so good.
$95. I just can't believe that. As in, like, you think that's not good, or it's too good, or what?
I mean, $10 below. I mean, that's literally like a 9% discount off market. Like, that's not crazy, but
and you have to remember, like, this is what people don't understand too, is like, when you do deals with people and you're willing to take everything they have, you can work deals. Like I said, I took all 18 cases. Like, can you take all 18 cases? Because people aren't going to work you deals if you can only take 1 or 2 cases. They don't want to deal with that. They want to sell everything to someone they can trust, get all the money right away, and not have to deal with parting it out piece by piece. And so, yeah, I mean, 95 for that many is a bit high. Yeah, and you could say it's a bit high. But like I said, guys, like, I don't know where my mouth is. I believe in Prismatic going forward. I definitely believe in the sealed cases. And again, I put everything out there publicly of what I do. And so I open myself up to all the criticism. But at the same time, I also open myself up to all the successes that can be proven of what I've said and done. And so it goes both ways.
I was about to say
things like Pokemon Go, or, when things go right, we can, like Paldea, we can celebrate.
I was about to say, if someone wants to message me, since people think 95 is too high of a price that he bought it at, if you guys want to sell it to me for $90, I will buy as many Prismatic ETB cases as you possibly have for that price. If you guys think it's that crazy and you want to offload right now, I am willing to buy an unlimited amount at $90. I will pay for your shipping. So yeah, I don't know, man. That feels fine to me, man. Especially in this market, bro. It's really tough to find, like, you can maybe get some people to get down to 80% depending upon what garbage you're picking up as well. But, like, yeah, it's not, this market is very difficult. Because
like I
things
said,
are
what
so
else?
much more competitive pricing wise.
Well, and what else is a better opportunity to pick up right now? Like, you could argue some Sword and Shield sets, sure. You could maybe argue if you can find some 151, whatever. But like, it just seems like a relatively good play right now for, especially after we've just seen them just absolutely dump Costco bundles, dump Sam's Club bundles. The actual booster bundles came out like after they dumped this much prismatic product and it stayed stable at what it's at, and they're just have no desire to print more cases and send them through distribution. It makes me feel comfortable with it.
Yeah. No, 100%. Let's talk a little bit more, but I think we should go into questions a little bit earlier today. We usually never have time to finish everyone's questions. So, as always, if you guys have questions, make sure in the chat you say in, caps question followed up with your question. That makes it easy for us to kind of go through and see what questions you guys have in the chat. Hopefully we can try and get to some more today, more of a Q&A type day. But yeah, I mean, so we're talking about Prismatic here. Obviously, I think that's smart. You're putting your money where your mouth is. I agree. I think it's a great play. Where's your stance on 151 and specifically loose packs or just generally product that they have?
I haven't taken a look at 151 in the past week. I'm one of the people that likes loose packs. I also know that a lot of people out there are hesitant for loose packs, so I'm not going to try and push loose packs on anybody. But loose packs is what I have been investing in lately of 151. Just 500 at a time or something. Basically 500 packs fit pretty soundly in a 5-row, 5-row white box. So I've just been stacking 5 rows of 151 packs. I do have some master cases of booster bundles. I've got some 151 UPCs, some PC ETBs. Those are kind of where I have my 151. But yeah, loose packs is all I've been buying lately. And then bundles, if they're similar, like I'll overpay 50 cents per pack if it's in a bundle or something, and I'll pick up bundles instead. But yeah, loose packs or bundles is where I've been moving into.
I mean, loose packs right now, if we're just talking TCG player, they're going right around $12. So
what is that, like 72 would be for it to be 6? So what's a bundle going for?
A bundle is going for, that's a good question, actually. Here, let me see if I can find that answer out for you. I just saw the price of a bundle. A bundle is going for, no, not a bundle. Dude, why is it showing me the price for a 151 bundle case, but not the price for a 151 bundle? Here, give me 2 seconds.
The bundle cases are outrageous.
Dude, it's just annoying. I hate the way TCG player lines things up. They're going for 75 on TCG player.
Yes, so I don't think bundles are a bad play at all then, because
yeah, go for bundles over the loose packs
more
at that point. Yeah.
50 cents more a pack. And here's the thing, guys, I'm gonna give you some wisdom about the collectibles and TCGs. People love as many layers of cardboard and plastic that you can find. So like, if you put the plastic around the cardboard and then put those plastic packs inside of more cardboard, and then you seal that with cellophane, more plastic, but then you put that in a cardboard case and you seal that with stop tape, dude, that's like so much plastic and cardboard, it has to be worth money.
You know what I thought was super funny? Literally, I was watching a YouTube video where someone was talking about how like they had a Hidden Fates. It was like a short video, Hidden Fates ETB that they were going to sell to someone at like, a discounted rate because the plastic wrap looks like kind of weird. It looks like it had double plastic wrap on it. And so he was like, if you want to like,
I saw that.
If you want to open it, I'll like give you a refund just in case. And in my mind, I'm like, wait a second. So it's not a concern that like the wrap is like too tight or something. It's that there's a manufacturing issue and there's a double plastic wrap. I'm like, dude, for the maniacs that want everything to have stop tape and plastic wrap nice and tight, I'm surprised people aren't paying a premium for that error, because you would think, man, people are crazy for some reason about extra protection and plastic, which is such a weird concept to me.
I love Rudy Alpha Investments' old video where he literally made a video about stop tape. And guys, the whole video long, he had like this reel going down the screen of I think it was Uline, how it actually sells all the different stop tapes. You can just buy stop tape from Uline. And then he was just like making fun of it, like stop tape, put it in your taco, protects your taco. Stop tape, but it was like the whole thing was like, guys, you can literally just buy the same box, put the same stop tape on it. It's just like, I think people way overplay all the different ceilings and stop tapes, and it's like, I don't know, it's crazy.
100%.
But hey, again, I feel that way, but I still invest in sealed cases because I know the majority of the market doesn't feel that way, and they really do value it, and they're going to put a premium on it. And so you have to play with the market that the market gives you. You can't like let your own thoughts about things play into your investing style. And that's what I've always been good at is I invest based on what I see the majority of people wanting in the future. I don't invest on what I like or what I think. Because if I did that, I wouldn't probably be successful in the hobby.
Yeah, 100%. All right, we'll go into questions. Alex, I'm going to have you take this quick question. I'll be back in like 15 seconds.
Is there a difference in price between products made in the USA versus products made in Europe? I don't, depends on the desirability. I think the desirability of a US like case versus a European case is probably more. Like I know I've seen some like European, like the square box cases. I have some over there go at auction at the same day as like a US case, the regular booster box case go at auction. They've went for less. But as far as like the boxes go, I don't think there's any difference in the actual boxes. So I don't think there's could be any difference in the boxes, the actual booster boxes.
I mean, they have different products. Like they've got the half boxes, but that's kind of as much as I'm aware, just kind of different prints and different products that they have available compared to the countries. But a booster box compared to a booster box is still a booster box, just different country.
I did see another question too. I want to cover it. Someone was asking me about like they're giving me crap, like you want to keep prices high for your rip and ships or something. Guys, when I started my rip and ships, you could still get product and distribution. I was selling packs at like $4 a piece, and it was better than ever. So if prices go back to low, that I would welcome that. If I don't have to like try to source packs from the secondary market and do deals with hundreds of different people all the time and like have to like get all these different shipments in and count out the packs. If I could just log on a distro website and say, I want 20 cases of this set and just have them and sell packs for $4 under MSRP and everyone's happy. Why would I not want that? There's profit margin there. People are getting product cheaper. They can open more packs. Who wouldn't want that? Like, think about what you're saying before you say it. That's all.
Next question. At the current market price, would you rather buy a PRE PCTB or a DR booster box? Wow, that's interesting.
I'll take the PCETB. It's just,
honestly,
I gotta believe.
Yeah, I agree. PCETB 100%. Isn't it?
Dude, I gotta believe at this point. If you gave me an over under, is it gonna stay over 300 or ever go under 300 again? I'd have to take the under, man. I have to believe at some point they're going to print at least some, and it's going to get somewhere in the 200s and be a better pickup than it is right now. Whereas I don't think they're probably going to print any more PCTBs at this point. That's the only factor.
It's weird to think that 250 doesn't seem like that bad of a price comparable right now.
No. The question is, if you want to hold something for the next 5 or 10 years, then I might be on the side of the Destin Rivals booster box. See, it's different, right? Because I think that is going to be like the premier set in this era at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I would wait on DR because I think that there is more that's going to come. We don't know what the price is, of course, going to look like when it does come, but I don't think it's going to be that much significantly higher if it does, go up and then get reprinted than where it is currently, if not potentially lower. All right, next question we have is the Mega era is an intermediate era. If they extend the game of the Gen 10 by 1 year, meaning it hits next summer or September. So is the Mega era like 7 sets? What do you think?
I would think it's going to be like 4.
I literally was talking to someone about this in shop because they were asking me questions, and I said I think it's going to be around 5, give or take.
Specialty set. So maybe like 4 booster box, maybe 1 or 2 specialties. So maybe 5 to 6.
I think that's appropriate. I mean, I was just referencing going off of the Heart Gold Soul Silver era, because there was 4 there and then 5th with Call of Legends, And so for me, I was like 5, but knowing history, it could be an extra couple sets just based on the fact that we've gotten more sets that are printed now than what was previously back during that time. So that's just kind of what made the most sense to me.
Yeah.
Are Sword and Shield regular ETBs undervalued? Seems like they should cost more as a whole.
I mean, here's the thing. Unless it's a specialty set, it doesn't have a promo card inside. There's no stamp promo. And you know, you're talking about 8 packs, and sure, there's going to be a bit of a premium because they're in they're in more plastic inside of more cardboard. So everyone loves that. Loose packs. That's bad, evil. But other than that, yeah, ETBs are somewhat collectible. I just don't think there's a lot of premium put on the collectability of the ETB and the sealedness as much as like with Scarlet Violet era with these stamp promos and stuff. So I think they're relatively, maybe some are undervalued. I'd have to look at every case by case scenario. I think they're pretty, honestly, like regular, like I would say fairly valued. Booster boxes are always going to have a premium, guys. Always. No matter what, a booster box is always going to have a good premium as they age. It's just the way it's always been. It's always going to be. Like, people would rather have a packs from a booster box than any other ancillary product.
This is going to be a weird thing to compare, but let's have a conversation looking at it from this perspective. Right now, your lowest listed for a Fusion Strike booster box is $820. If you divide it by the price of MSRP, that's just what we're going to use for science, you are getting a 5.69 rate of return, right? If we look at Fusion Strike Elite Trainer Box, the lowest listed price for that one is going for $190. MSRP for that is $40. You are getting a 4.75 rate of return, which means that roughly speaking, you've made a 0.9x return greater with the booster box.
What price is the ETB at?
The price of the ETB is at $190 for Fusion. Yeah, just the standard one, not the specialty. So I guess
so you're actually paying more per pack. If you guys do the math, you're actually paying more per pack out of an ETB right now than you are out of a booster box.
Yeah. So the point I'm trying to articulate here is that when you're talking about the like price disparity between the two, it doesn't feel like it's really that far off in terms of what your kind of like rate of return on investment is. It's not like one's, multiple 100% greater if we're comparing it from if you bought an MSRP, right? So, it just, I don't know. It just doesn't feel, it's so funny, man. I remember when you could get Fusion Strike ETBs for $20, like they were being flash sold. It's so insane to me that they're at where they are right now, but I digress. The point is no, I don't think they're undervalued if you're looking at it. I mean, maybe if you want to say they get more in line with booster boxes, but right now booster boxes are definitely more trendy in terms of popularity as far as investments compared to ETB. So I think they're going to be slightly lagging, but yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at Fusion. We could go through and look at some more and see, if we kind of feel the same way about other ones. Maybe you could say Brilliant Stars is undervalued, but also I think what makes it a little bit harder is like, Brilliant Stars lowest is at right around $100. So 2.5 return. Brilliant Stars, that one is at 410, it looks like. So that is a 2.8 return. Wait, what? Oh my God. Is my math correct on that? Hold on one second. Brilliant is at, okay. So let's do 420 here. Divided by 144. Your rate of return is a 2.9 versus your ETB rate of return on Brilliant is right at 100. Yeah, that's crazy, actually. Yeah, no, ETB2, they're so close to one another when you're doing the percentages. It feels different because the numbers are so much higher with the boosters, but from a percentage perspective, they're not that far off. So no, yeah, just looking off of those two, we can keep going, but I think that kind of proves the point I'm making.
RJ, to answer your question, man, I haven't changed anything. a few videos ago when I said to wait on Destin Rivals. It was about $300 when I made that video, I believe. I'm it's not that I'm bullish on buying at 320 where it's at right now. But I mean, just like I said, I think at some point in the future, it's probably gonna drop under $300 again. At which point, I'll probably be a lot more bullish and want to buy. But like, yeah, I haven't changed anything up. I mean, I can be bullish in the set for the long term, but for the short term, say that I think there'll be a time when it's under $300 again.
Yeah, my thing is, going back to this question, the only thing that's changed really in terms of my stance, or I should say, because for the longest time I've always looked at ETBs historically and been like, they're a great investment, blah, blah. And I still think that. My biggest thing is, though, I definitely feel like storage is a component that people don't think about a ton. And that's kind of what's really shifted my kind of thought process and saying, okay, they're pretty close when it comes to the rate of return on investment. Booster boxes tend to lead the way for sure now more than it was before, where it was slightly the other way around with ETBs, unless we're talking PC ETBs, which, I've always been high on. I think that realistically speaking, I'm still, regardless of the disparity, if let's say an ETB is slightly performing better, if it's by a thin margin, I'm still taking the boosters just because I need more space, and you can just get so much price per, square foot utilization with the booster box.
100%, dude. Like the racks I use, they're like those 5-tier garage racks that measure like 72 by 36 by 24, I believe. And there's like 5 shelves, and you can fit 30 ETB cases on one of those shelves, but you can fit about 100 booster box cases on that shelf. I mean, if you just do like the math at MSRP for all those products, like you can fit it's so much more exponential amounts of money on one shelf for storage than you can ETBs. It's not even close. And then also, even though the price points are cheaper on the ETBs, a lot of people's like perception is that, well, in the future, it'll be a more digestible purchase. Honestly, the booster boxes have pretty much held up, I think, better in sell-through rate and liquidity as time ages, even though they're more expensive, just because, I don't know, it seems like people would rather pay, $1,000 for a booster box than, maybe whatever, multiple hundreds for an ETB. I don't think it's more liquid just because it's cheaper.
The shipping prices, it's so much more expensive to ship ETBs, especially when you're talking about from a percentage perspective. If you have an item, a case of ETBs, right? Let's say you sell off a case, right? Let's say that they're going for about 100 a pop, so $1,000 for the case. If it's going to cost a lot, most people, it's going to cost them right around $30-ish to ship a case, maybe sometime more or less, depending upon where they're purchasing the label from. That's about a 3% or like cost just off of the shipping. Whereas if you go and say right now, Scarlet and Violet, the lowest you're going to be, looking at for a booster box right now, Alex said, is $220. You multiply that by 6, that's right around $13.20. And I think the most you're paying is like $20 for a case. I mean, I know that for me, depending upon where most people live, like you're not typically paying more than like 15, and that's without my corporate discount. What would that be? I mean, that's 1%, I think. So it might not seem like a lot to most people, but a 2% difference is a huge amount when we're talking in, just a larger grand scale.
Which, by the way, is always a bullish case to anyone that's really into, buying and selling or investing in PSA graded cards or even singles, is because, the shipping's so low, or, I can sell them through eBay, get authenticity guaranteed. I can, pack a bunch up and sell them. And there's a lot of benefits. It's just, man, singles are just so volatile and so risky, which really turns me off, which is why I'm like more into sealed product. But yeah, I mean, all those things do you take into account is how much is the item, how much is shipping, what percentage of that is the item. Like that's a form of a tax when you go to sell it, and you have to think about those things.
Has the TPC ever considered bringing back first editions, the PC ETB / enhanced, kind of flirt with this idea, and clearly there's demand for level of rarity?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I definitely would say no. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's flirting with that idea just based on the fact that one has a promo card that everyone gets. Like, that doesn't mean that, it's just like stamp cards. Like, stamp cards are just a thing. They've always been a thing. They've never gone away, right? So stamps being on cards, they're not going to go away. But specifically, different print runs with different printed stamps, I see no need for them to do that. I mean, what's the point? Like, it would just add more hysteria to the market, if anything.
I was saying no to I don't think Pokemon's bringing back first editions, but as far as the second part's concerned, I don't really know if that's considered a first edition, man. Like, there's nothing different about the packs, so.
I like this question. How much does opening experience matter when investing in a set? 0%. 0%. I'm very strongly opinionated on that. Because do you know how many people said Evolving Cries, Chilling Pain, Fusion Strikeout, like Machampion, like literally I keep going on about the sets that people have whined and complained about the pull rates. I mean, listen, I'm someone who hates with a burning passion Burning Shadows because of how horrible the pull rates are. Funny enough, literally Pat, who has his YouTube shorts where he's trying to do Burning Shadows Sundays to pull it, and he's talked about how horrible the pull rates are, how horrible the conditioning is on the cards. Like, doesn't matter. You look at the prices of these products, they have gone up so much. And in my personal opinion, the reason why I think that is, this is going to sound crazy to say, it's because people have goldfish memories, and a lot of people just tend to forget about pull rates, or people that are newer to the hobby that want to open older stuff weren't around for when the pull rates were the pull rates. And so that's not something they really take into consideration. They're just like, oh, let me look at the set list online. Oh, this seems like a cool set to open. Let me buy it. And they don't consider that whatsoever.
I think the two main things are scarcity of the product. How much was it printed? How was it reprinted? All that. That's why Team Up's so big. What didn't get reprint? Why Sword and Shield base is so high, even though it's crappy. It didn't get a reprint. But I think the other thing is that the main hit cards, the gamble. I think people want that gamble. I think that's why Prismatic is so big. It's got the God Packs. It's got the Umbreon. It's why some of those Sword and Shield sets are so big. It's got those giant hits for those big altars. People want a chase. And guess what? It doesn't have to be just a chase in the single. You could have like Paldea Evolved with the Magikarp. It could be a chase for the grade. I want to try to pull the Magikarp and grade it a 10, and now it's worth $2,000. People want a big win. They do not want to open a set that, okay, you can pull 100 different hits, but everyone's worth $20-$30. It's not fun. People want that. I pull a $400 card. They're going to tell all their friends. They're going to show it around. That's what drives it more than anything, is scarcity in that. So I agree. Hey, take Johnny's question. Scroll up like 4 or 5. A lot of people are asking us to take it in the chat down at the bottom. Okay,
sounds good. Is it 4 or 5 from the bottom?
It's up top. Like you were like a little bit past it. It's like 210. It says big caps question in front of it. They kept asking us to take it for some reason.
Oh, 210. Okay, bear with me 2 seconds here.
Did I pass it? You were like,
oh, I did. Oh, I'm so sorry, Johnny. When you think about selling your position, are you targeting a specific percentage game or a specific time frame? Just curious what your strategies usually are.
I don't. I know a lot of people have different thoughts on this. Some people say once it hits 100%, I like to, cash out of half of it. So the rest is, I can keep free and grow infinitely, like with zero cost basis. That's always an option. Other people have time frames. I'm going to hold this for, 5 years. And after that, I'll sell it or whatever. I don't like to lock myself into any type of like stringent rules where it's like time frame or where it's percentage gains. I handle every single thing separately, right? So when I go to audit, my positions, whether it be, a half year, 1 year, whatever, I look at everything and I say, do I still believe in this set or these items in the current market going forward? How do I feel about the price point? Do I still feel like I want this large a position? Because sometimes when you have a large position in something and then it really takes off, it's really unequal to a lot of your other position sizes. It's become like the majority. And so sometimes you do want to shave some off to kind of balance your portfolio again. But I always have to ask myself at the end of the day, if I sell this, where am I going to put the money? And where I put the money, do I believe that place is going to do better than I believe this item's going to do? So it's like evolving skies, right? That's already, well past all of those different metrics you could have used, certain amount of years, certain amount of percentage gain. But it's like, even right now, do I sell evolving skies at 2,400? Where am I going to put the 2,400? Do I think wherever I put that money is going to do better? And then also, does it cost fees, shipping, etc., to sell that item? So now you're not investing 2,400 anymore. If you're paying fees and shipping, you're only investing, what is it, 22, 2,100? So now you're starting your next investment, but below what your other investment was going to be. So now you don't only have to keep up with that investment, you have to outperform it just to get back to even. And so that's why a lot of times with investors, it makes sense not to sell, just let your positions compound and then use money you've made from just flipping your business, your income, your job to continue to take on more positions. Now, obviously there's always a time to sell, but I'm not at that age yet. Like a lot of people don't sell their investments. I mean, their 401ks, their IRAs, any of their real estate. Most people don't sell until they're at retirement age. And so like, that's kind of more way I see it. I believe in this hobby long-term. And so I don't have anything I'm looking for to make sales.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said this. It's circumstantial based off of what you got going on in your life. For me, the only time I've ever sold product is because, hey, I'd like to own a home at some point, and having money down for a home is kind of necessary in order to be able to do that. Other than that, the only other time I've sold off a major part of my collection was because I was making the move from Oregon to Arizona and I just didn't have the space to be able to store everything. And I was obviously able to rebuild because of that. But now that we have the home that I anticipate I'm going to live in for an extended period of time, my kind of realistic game plan is kind of like Alex says, just purchase the product. And then when I ask myself the question, do I think I can move this into something that's going to be worth it from a greater rate of return? But ultimately speaking, I'm not really looking at doing that like at all. Like I'm very much saying to myself, and I've talked about this a little bit on stream, I'm going to be 70% Pokemon and then 30% other investments. That might be a pretty aggressive percentage, but I don't know. I just feel really confident about the strength of the market, the history of Nintendo as a company, and when it comes to the protection of their IPs, especially Pokemon being the number one most valuable. And I just don't see it really going anywhere. And so I'm just going to hold on to it until I have some other life event that might make more sense for me to offload my position, right? Life event number one was moving. Life event number two was getting a home. For people that might do those things, I completely understand. If you've got other life events that happen where something, God forbid, tragic happens and you have to sell off parts of your collection to afford things or whatever, right? Like that's kind of how I look more at it, is I only sell unless I feel like I just kind of have to because life events are pushing me that way.
Yeah, and to clarify, I have went through 2 times in the hobby where I have sold. One was during the big COVID boom where I just felt like things had spiked too far, too fast, and it didn't seem sustainable and the price points didn't. I no longer felt confident in what I was holding and felt like it'd be better taken out. So I did sell back then, put a lot of that money into paying off personal debts and also into the stock market. And then the other time was recently, like Eli said, where I paid off my house, where, again, you can look at percentages and get your calculators out and be like, Alex, the percentages show you should have kept Pokemon instead of paid off your house. It's like, yeah, I get it, but you can't quantify risk. And so the reason I did sell off parts to pay my house off is because what if my wife loses her job? What if Pokemon downturns and we don't have the income anymore? I would much rather be in a spot of having no bills and no risk than to try to outperform, in terms of investments and kind of risk that something might happen in our personal lives that may put us, at risk or whatever. And then, you never want to be selling off things when you have to. You always want to be selling off when you want to. I would never want to put ourselves in a position where we have to sell to pay bills or something like that. And so that's why I made the decision to sell to pay the house off. So those are the 2 times I've sold. I've had reasons for it. If I don't have a reason to sell, I'm just not selling.
And I like that approach more. I know that, like, if you've listened to someone like Caleb Hammer, when he was on Graham Stephan, he was like, oh, why pay off my student loan when I can get a greater rate of return in the S&P? I understand that. But for me personally, I like to be more conservative and say to myself, I'd much rather get rid of my debt and put myself in a position where I can kind of have my cake and eat it too, where I can pay off that debt more aggressively, but also at the exact same time, still stockpile towards my investment. So that way I'm not like aggressively selling off my collection where I'm like, all right, got to dump as much of it as I can. It's like Lost Origin, for example, right? I bought 19 cases of Lost Origin. So like 112 booster boxes. I'm currently sitting on 98. So I've sold a little over 2 cases. And that has been because I've done it only at the expense of maximization of profit, right? So if I can get it at basically market price at the time, otherwise I'm not selling it. And that's just because, hey, I need a little bit of cash here. Selling off a Lost Origin booster box, not a bad thing for me to do. But ultimately, am I going to sell it at like a 70% rate? No, because I think it's an item that's just going to continue to go up. And I have no desire to do that, right? And so for me, I'll sell off a little bit of it to pay for things in my life that help me, get rid of my debt. And then I will hold on to the rest of it and make sure that my position for the majority of it is still secured. So that way I am going to obviously still have a good long-term hold in it.
Yeah. Yeah. And Red Card Chase talking about like how much taxes was it? So, dude, I can't get into taxes. All right. I can't get into that. I'm not a tax advisor, not a tax professional, and have no license. What I would say though is look into cash basis accounting if you're going to do this seriously. And then if you ever do want to take large amounts of money completely out of the business and not replenish it with any new inventory to offset your tax bill, you can look into real estate. There's a lot of depreciation, benefits you can use there to offset your tax bill. And then, as it grows, you can 1031 exchange it in other real estate, and you can, borrow against it if you ever actually need income or need money. Like there's a lot of different ways to go about, giving yourself actual physical dollars to live on. But really the long game of building wealth is continuously keeping your money working for you in some which way or form. And so that's kind of my strategy. It's not about like so basically talking about the taxes, like I can't get into the details of it, but basically upping the business inventory offsets, a lot of the sales that happen because I'm continuously reinvesting in the business, which are expenses that reduce your income. So that's what helps a lot. Also, what Eli was saying, dude, one thing I would love to debate with all those guys, those like finance gurus online, they completely no one ever talks about risk. All they do is play the numbers and the percentages, like Caleb Hammer and like Grant Cardone and all those guys. They never talk about risk. So all they do is show like these gains or like these, how you'd be better off not paying a house off and stuff or whatever, not paying debt off. And it's just like, okay, you lose your income. You can't find new income for 6 months. Now what? You have all these bills, all these payments. You were fine before. Now what? Right? And like no one talks about that. They live as if, oh, I'll always have this job or a similar job. We'll always make similar income. We'll always have this similar amount of money coming in. You don't know that. In my opinion, it's always better to live conservatively and safe with as low bills as possible, stack up as much cash and investments as possible, because you don't know what the future holds. Don't live as if you're always going to have the same lifestyle, income, everything as you always will, because you never know what life's going to throw at you.
I'd much rather, like, I know this is a weird, kind of way to look at it, but let's say that like your mortgage is $2,000, right? And let's say that you have an additional $2,000 of expendable income, right? If it's me, I would rather take 1,000 of it and put it towards paying off the home, and 1,000 of it and put it towards investment, than just 2,000 towards the investment and say, well, of course, like, I could get a better rate of return. Like for me, I'd much rather pay that home off faster, and I can still do both.
And it's a hedge against risk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, 100%. And hypothetically speaking too, like if things were to, change with interest rates and you're going to refinance, you can obviously refinance with a home that you've paid off now faster. So you can not only get a lower rate and get a lower payment, but also have contributed more and have less that you have to now pay into it in a shorter period of time. So it just, it just sounds better to me because the numbers might change, right? Interest rates might not drop for a couple more years, but it's just you're like you said, it's a hedge.
Yep.
All right. Next question that we have, where was it that I saw? Where do you see PC ETB cases going if they are the last set to get a sealed case?
I mean, sky's the limit. I think 151 has already showed us that it just doesn't seem like there's a ceiling right now for PC ETBs. And then you take the case into account, whatever someone willing to pay for it at the time. So I would say if it's in a bull market, there's no ceiling to what you might get. In a bear market or a flat market, you might have a hard time moving it because there's going to be a limited customer for a PC ETB, and then a PC ETB case, even fewer than there is something like a booster box. So that's the only thing I'd be careful about is liquidity. I think they're a great addition to a position. I wouldn't go too heavy though, because they might be a little more difficult to move in the future.
I mean, I don't know, man. It's hard. My only kind of thing is that we're seeing case premiums. So I mean, I'd much rather have a case than not have a case. I don't know how to answer that other than the fact that will there be a case premium in the same ways you kind of see with some of these booster boxes like Evolving Skies and, you know, Lost Origin and such? Yes, of course, there's going to be that massive case premium. But like, I guess maybe I'm answering the question incorrectly, but I guess my thing is I don't think it's going to get so out of control to a point of where people are like, well, I just need to invest in the sealed right now because I know that the premiums are going to explode when this is going to be the last. We don't know that for certain. Things could change in the future. We're having a debate on whether Pokemon is going to allow people to order a certain quantity and like them not use cardboard. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I don't think they've made an official statement saying we're not shipping sealed cases anymore. I mean, in the meantime, it seems like they're not doing it, but I don't know. That's just kind of where my mind is. I don't know if you have any thoughts.
I would just make it a smaller part of your positions. Like I would have other items that are more liquid. And then I have no problem having some illiquid items, like, you know, especially like some of those vintage cards. Like right now, anyone that was holding vintage cards, dude, you might have had those listed for 2 years straight and they may not have sold. Right now, you could throw vintage cards at any auction house and you are going to get almost all-time highs every single auction. And so, you know, as long as you're okay having some things that are going to be considered less liquid and you may have to hold on to a little longer till the right customer comes, but the majority of your things are very liquid in case you really did want to sell, I'm fine with that. Just don't make it the majority of your position.
Yeah, no, 100%. All right. Are DR, SP, and P the top 3 booster box sets of the SV era?
Yes, absolutely. What else would be, right?
Am I dumb?
I mean, Twilight maybe, but
what's SP?
I think he means Surging Sparks.
That's what I thought he meant.
SS should be SS.
Yeah, if that's what he's saying, then yes.
I mean, the only other one you could possibly throw in is Twilight, but like, I think Surging's going to eventually outpace it.
I was about to say, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. I know this is a hot take. I like Journey more than Twilight. Just me personally, but
that's wild, dude. I got to be honest, you've been a fan of Journey since the very beginning.
I am a fan of Journey. I just think for me, like, I've always been someone that has never really been a fan. Like, I feel like everyone's going to always have a reason to complain about something. That's just welcome to human nature. But like for me, people always complain about how the set was so small. But then I've heard so many people complain about sets are too big and then they're too expensive to collect. So it's like, pick a freaking struggle already. And so for me, I think that the set for what it is the right size for what I personally like. Because like, sure, you don't have a crazy amount of like IRs, but realistically speaking, if we're just talking about the quantity of SIRs, like, does everyone remember the back half of the Sword and Shield era with like Lost Origin? There was also only 4 SIRs, or sorry, alternate arts is what they were called, right? Whereas with this one, there is how many SIRs are there? There is you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 special illustration rares. So there's more if we're comparing SIRs to alt arts.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Lost Origin has more of the, character rares or IRs, comparably speaking. But I don't know. I feel like it's a set that's going to do well long term. Maybe people are hating on it because they don't think the characters are that cool within it. But I don't know, man. Lily is such a popular character and has been historically. Look at some of the top trainer cards and how expensive they are. And so is Lord N. I just think there's some cards in here that are really gorgeous, especially the N's Reshiram too, that I think are going to do better than most people might realize in the long term. I'm just a fan of characters in like art designs. That's one of the reasons why Cosmic is still my top 3 favorite set of all time, because it has so many amazing characters with their Pokemon.
Yeah.
So, I mean, DR is obviously better, right? But for me, I look at a set like Twilight and I say to myself, okay, I know some people are a fan of the Greninja, but I'm not really a fan of just terrestrialization, period. Not a huge fan of it. And for me, I look at the 2 sets and I say to myself, okay, one of them has terrestrialization, which I'm just not a fan of that art style. Sure, it has some cool characters within it, like the Eevee that's not terrestrialized. But in this set, I'm not going to have to deal with any of the Terra Pokemon. And I also have some Pokemon that I like and some characters that I like. But I'm not getting any of the characters that I really care for within the set. That is Twilight Masquerade.
Makes sense.
I know people obviously like the pairing card's obviously done well, and people like the Carmine, but I don't know.
I mean, hey man, I've taken heat from the very beginning about Paldea Evolved. Like a lot of people just dislike that set and all this stuff. It's still like my favorite set, but
why is Brilliant so low, seeming it has the Char, Umbi, Sylvie, Mimikyu evolution?
Again, I think it goes back to that top hit. Like the Charizard V is easier to hit than all the VMAX alt arts, and I think it might be even easier than possibly the Giratina and the Lugia. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's an easier card to hit. It doesn't have any other top hits in it. Like people don't care as much about the Arceus. They don't care much about they care about the trainer gallery, but again, the trainer gallery, they're not top tier rarities. They're not like I just think it's people want that god tier, like rare card, that expensive card where the Charizard's starting to run now, but it's still lagging the other big alt arts. And I think that's what holds Brilliant Stars back.
Honestly, it's a hard one for me to answer. Like, I feel like Brilliant is performing well. I don't think it's a set that's not performing good. If we're talking about the price of the singles, it's definitely fascinating to kind of see if we're just kind of comparing it. But I mean,
to me, if you had told me in the beginning, if you would have showed me 2 set lists and you would have showed me Brilliant and Lost Origin, I wouldn't have been able to tell you that Lost Origin was going to outperform Brilliant Stars. I could have never guessed that.
All right, we'll go to that.
I get Giratina's popular, but it's Charizard, right?
No, I agree. I agree with you.
And then we know what's going on with the freaking Umbreon these days. It's the best card ever in every freaking era. It's like, well, that has Umbreon. It's got Sylveon. Like, well, how doesn't that outdo the Pikachus? It doesn't. And then it's got all the evolutions. How do all those yellow border evolutions not compete against the yellow border Lost Origin? The Lost Origin thing still doesn't make sense to me. But again, that's why I play the market. I don't play how I feel. If it was about how I felt, I agree. I think Brilliant should be worth more.
I know. I mean, I've gotten a lot of flack for the fact that I don't really care for the Lost Origin Giratina art design, and Giratina is literally my favorite legendary Pokemon, and I was kind of disappointed. Looks like one big acid trip of
an fanboys just like kill you, man.
It literally looked like one big acid trip of a background. I wish they did more with the Distortion World design, similar to how it looked in the game. What is your take on margin? Oh my god. What's your take on margin loans on your stock portfolio to reinvest money back in Pokemon with an interest rate for some brokerages at 6%? No, don't do it. As someone who made a ton of money off of crypto, not leverage trading, and then lost a lot of money leverage trading, I do not recommend. It is really dumb. People get so lost in the weeds, and this is me speaking also for myself. So, and I'm not trying to project. Oh, and I blame this on social media more than anything. Social media has made keeping up with the Joneses worldwide, where it's no longer your next door neighbor. You're just on your phone and boom. And like, because of that, people want to get so wealthy so fast because they just like that they start taking such an insane amount of regurgitated risk, and it ends up not paying off. Like, if you're making an insane rate of return on investment, like, I literally remember I invested in Cardano when it was at 12 cents, and I sold it when I was at $1.50. And then I said to myself, I didn't make enough money. That was only a 10x rate of return. I'm not a millionaire yet. And I was 20. Like, that's so stupid of a mentality. Like, how dumb are you? And I'm saying to myself, I'm dumb. You know what I'm saying? And I lost a lot of money because I had that dumb ass mentality. And like, I should have just taken my $100,000 or however much I ended up making off of it at the time was close to that. And I should have just either, reinvested it in a different thing, diversified, or I should have just kept it and not leverage traded. Because if obviously, I would have not done it, I would have instead been in a completely different position. Like, if I said, oh, let me put some of it in Bitcoin, or let me put some of it in traditional markets, or whatever, right? Like, just, I don't know, just don't leverage trade, please.
Yeah, I obviously, when I sold my first company back in the day, lawn care landscaping company, in my mid-20s, I took a lot of the proceeds I got from it, and I started day trading, and I was leveraged day trading, and I had 5-figure up days, and I had 5-figure down days, and eventually had too many down days. And I mean, I lost. I've talked about it before. I lost a lot of money when I was high frequency trading, but nowadays I can't lie. I do definitely jump in positions with leverage from time to time. But I wouldn't take leverage and like take it out and put it into Pokemon because it's not as liquid. Like, at any point I can just sell some of the shares and get under my leverage limit and get back to, under my cash limit. So like, but I only take leverage when I'm playing with like large established companies. Like, if I'm going to take a position in AMD or take a position in Apple or Nvidia, and I want to make a trade because I think it's going to run up, whatever, like I will get into margin sometimes, but nothing like penny stocks or, anything that's like really risky. So I'm not, I'd be lying if I said I never used any of the margin that my account has. I try to use cash as much as possible, but I wouldn't go that far on margin. No.
Yeah, I think the big thing that killed me more than anything is, it's funny. I actually was doing well margin trading at first, but what killed me was the fact that I set notifications on my phone all the time, and a lot of my trade notifications would go off during different market opens, which would be at like 3 a.m. And it got to a point where I was averaging anywhere between 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night. And I was so sleep deprived that I would then start to make more emotional, irrational trades because I was literally like, this sounds weird to say, like hallucinating because of how sleep deprived I was. And then from there, it just turned into a spiral. And so for me, I like much more of the not having to look at it like it's a full-time job type of thing, because I have a history of making good picks on my investments and just picking it and then not having to try and like maximize with a leverage trade, because you have to do so much more when you're doing it that way.
And like when I talk about leverage trade, like I'm not taking any like crazy risks like that. Like, I'm taking risks where I'm okay with the upside and the downside, where it's like within my margin of what I can handle. So it's like, it's more with stocks that have a too high of a stock price. I just don't have enough cash in the account. Like, let's say I have $100,000 in my brokerage account. If I want to take out a 1,000 share position on like AMD, right? Well, it's $170 stock, right? 1,000 position, that's 170,000. So obviously, like if I want to do that, I take on 70,000 in margin, and whatever. And that, but again, if AMD has an average like intraday trading range of an average of, I don't know, 5 points, it's like, you're taking on a $5,000 like, risk unusual. And so it's like, it's not like I'm jumping in a penny stock where I might be taking on like, tens of thousands of dollars of risk. And so like those are the times like I'll use it. I wouldn't take it out to like do anything really risky or anything like that.
I mean, if you're going to do anything risk related, quote unquote, I'd much rather you get a like credit card that has like a 0% APY and say, oh, I want to make an investment right now in a position that I feel really confident about, but I don't have a ton of liquidity and I feel like I could make more on it. And then you open an account and then let's say you put a little bit more because you have more buying power with that card and then paying off that balance. Obviously, still not a fan of that, but I would at least prefer that better because then you're not saying to yourself, oh, I'm putting myself where I'm now taking expended additional capital that is now literally incurring fees and debt as the rate goes down or as the price goes down and you could potentially, get liquidated. At least in this position, if, we'll talk about Pokemon, right? If let's say, man, I think Prismatic Evolution is like an insane buy right now, and I can go pick up a collection at like $80 or 75 in ETB, but I just don't have the money to do it. I'm not upset with you if you're doing that where it's a really good buy and you're able to obviously take advantage of that opportunity and then just pay off the card, knowing that you have the income that you're going to be able to utilize to pay off the card. But if it's me, I'm not just going to make minimum payments. I'm going to still aggressively pay that card off, knowing that I'm just using the short-term liquidity that I was able to get from the credit card and not taking any sort of percentage fee for doing so.
Yeah, especially if you have like skin in the game already. If you have like a good sized Pokemon position and you're just like, well, if this goes bad and this whole thing goes wrong, well, then I might have to like sell off the play and then take a couple cases out of my position to pay off the card and still pay no interest. Like if you're willing to do that and you understand the risk and you have like other things to fall back on, then it's no big deal at all. But like, yeah, if you're just like just starting out and you have nothing to fall back on, you're going all in, I would never do that. I'd always have a secondary kind of like backup plan in place.
Do you have a lot of money in single stocks?
Dude, so in my IRAs, and then obviously my wife's 401k is always invested. Those are invested. My brokerage account, I use that as like a kind of more of like a swing trading account to where it depends on the day. Sometimes I'll be in stock, sometimes I'll be all cash. It just I use it as a swing trading place.
I mean, where's your stance on like, I mean, are you looking at any tech companies? Like, I know a lot of people obviously made a ton of money on Nvidia.
I mean, as far as like long-term holds right now, it's so hard, dude. Like I can't figure it out right now. I can't figure out which company is going to be the front runner with this whole AI and even the robotics thing. I mean, Tesla has a good shot at it. I know Tesla, they just like, I think it was like a press release. They paid Elon Musk like billions of dollars his CEO to stay on or whatever. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, Tesla, obviously Apple wants a piece of it. Nvidia, like AMD are all going to be like players of the future. But, there's a lot of smaller companies that are popping up that, maybe kind of that dark horse that just rise up and, kind of like disrupts the industries and they could be kind of one of the next big stocks of the future that you could look at. It's really hard, man. It's really hard when you start digging into it because I'm not technology savvy. So a lot of the things that I'll read, I won't even have a great understanding of what I'm reading. And so it's difficult for me to really dive into that side of things, man.
That's why I prefer to put my money where I know what I'm investing in.
Meta's another one. Yeah.
I like to invest what I know. It just feels a lot easier to do. We'll move on to another question though. Okay, interesting. Do you think my purchase of a Paradox Rift case at 1,500 was a good investment? I have about 20K case portfolio I've been holding for about 2 years now.
Paradox at 1,500? That seems high.
Let's take a look and see what Paradox is at.
That seems a little high.
I mean, just reading that, it feels high, but let's take a look and see what a individual box is going for right now. An individual box is going for right around 220. Multiply that by 6. That's 1320. I mean, is there a massive case premium on Paradox? Because that does seem really high. I mean, if we go to like eBay and we say Paradox Rift booster box case, let's look at some last sold. I mean, I'm literally seeing some right now being sold for less than that on eBay. I'm not
Here's
even
the thing,
talking
man. It's
about
not
on
like
bid.
it's not like you got crushed. It's a little high. He did say taxes included, so okay, that makes a little more sense.
Taxes included. Yeah, I don't know what state you're in, but
That makes a little more sense. Yeah,
taxes included. Yeah,
it's not bad.
it's slightly better.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. Yeah, with taxes included,
I mean, you're
I didn't
basically
agree.
paying market. He's basically saying I paid market for it.
Yeah, no, that's not bad, man. And
It's not
honestly,
bad because yeah,
Paradox Rift is going out with the first rotation. I mean, I think in a year you're probably gonna be looking pretty good.
it's not bad because you paid market, but like me personally speaking, I mean, you could probably have gone elsewhere and found it for cheaper. Um, but yeah, that's kind of where I am. He also had a follow up question saying, "Would you have, or would something else would have been better?" Is what he asked.
It's hard to tell. I hate playing that game, like because there's too much. I feel like that's the biggest problem right now in this hobby, like especially in like the content and investing space, is everyone's so worried about like winning. Like, oh, my investments beat your investments. It's just like, dude, it's not even about like out competing somebody's investments. It's about continuously producing gains while mitigating losses while growing your net worth over time by biting off the amount of risk that you're comfortable with. That's all this is. That's all this whole game is, right? And so, like, sure, I'm sure maybe I could throw a couple other things out there. Maybe they'll perform better. Maybe they won't. It's not about that. If you're comfortable with that, you have a good you have a good eye for it, and you think where you believe it's going to go in a certain amount of years, and you're playing off because it's about to go out of print in April and all these different things, and it's got the Groudon, which is one of the best illustrations in the era, and it's got a lot of other great IRs and SIRs and all the good things. Then just don't worry about where else you could have got it, because you could always be wrong, you could always be right.
I mean, it's like, oh yeah, we talked about how much we like, prismatic right now, or we like black and white. But ultimately speaking, let's say that both those sets get printed and they stay at their price that they're at currently for the next several years. But Paradox does get printed because it goes out of rotation, and then it does better in that time period, right? And now we could say in the next 5 to 10 years, Prismatic ends up doing better. But in that same time period, kind of like what you saw with Hidden Fates, it took a while before it had its rate of return. And if you had just instead bought another product, invested in it, cashed out, then bought like a year before Hidden Fates popped off, you obviously could have made much more money in the meantime while it went sideways.
Right.
But we don't have crystal ball here.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
do 3 more questions and get on out of here. Do you feel it's worth a premium for sealed product over loose packs when buying 151 Prismatic product? Depends how big of a premium it is. But like if you're talking about kind of like what we were looking at with the ETBs for 151 compared to like booster bundles, you'd much rather take the booster bundles based on the price that you're paying.
Yeah, I'd say as long as the premium isn't too great. Like I definitely wouldn't be buying 151 ETBs at $300 over 151 bundles. Like that seems a little ridiculous. But then like Prismatic makes a lot more sense. So again, it's not a perfect science. I can't give you like an exact margin or exact price point of like margin. But I don't know, when it just starts to seem like the sealed product has, I would say is a little overvalued compared to the loose pack price. That's kind of when I start to move into loose packs. I can't give you a perfect amount though. I wish I could. I do a lot based on feeling, man. I don't know about you, Eli, but not everything's based on perfect science.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it just feels timing in my life. If I'm being honest, I don't want to force things. Like when the Lost Origin, Brilliant Stars, Lost Origin and Silver Tempest reprint happened, it was just one of those things where like I was like, all right, this is like go time for me. Like this just feels right. I should put a ton of money in it. This just feels it. And if there's instances where I feel like, Surging Spark, Pokemon Center ETBs, they're just sitting there. This kind of seems dumb. Crown Zenith, ETB specialty. Why are they just sitting there on Pokemon Center? You can buy a decent amount of them. Like when there's instances where it just kind of feels like it just feels like a really good buy because you believe in the set, or you believe that this is a buying opportunity based on some sort of data, and you just feel like it's a good buy. Like, yeah, because who knows? Lost Origin could have, tanked, and Silver Tempest could have tanked and then just not gone up for another several years. And then I would have been sitting on a brick in the same way as Hidden Fates. But for me, I just felt like historically, having seen the performance and knowing like the scarcity of the set going out of rotation in a year, it just felt like a good buy, especially being that booster boxes get eaten up so much faster these days.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah. Is it safer bet in terms of percentage? Sell my late Scarlet and Violet product for the beginning Scarlet and Violet set? I feel like we talked about this on a stream or two ago. I feel yes. Right? Yeah, that's what I think as well.
I mean, here's the thing: it's just be okay with missing out, right? Like if you got into Destiny Rivals early and you want to take profits at 320 because you think it's going to come down, maybe you'll be right? But like, don't kick yourself if it goes to 350, 400, which is equally as possible. I know everyone wants to act like it's not, right? But it's equally as possible for that set to go to 400 as it is to back to 200. Those are both equally as possible in the next few months. Like you have no clue what's going to happen. So just be confident in your decision, live with your choices. And if that's what you think is a safer and better choice, go for it. No one ever got hurt taking profits.
I was about to say, I'd rather leave money on the table than lose money.
Always.
Oh no, I only made 100% rate of return instead of a 200% rate of return versus, I just lost 50% of my investments worth. Like, I don't know. Feels bad.
Yeah.
This is it doesn't start with question, but it's something I feel like I had to see. We'll do this as our final question.
Let's do it.
Is it too much when it comes to Pokemon? Bought and held on a 0% CC is $100,000 too much, or is that just the beginning?
I don't. Hold on. What are we talking about? You have 100K on a 0% credit card?
Which I don't understand, first and foremost, which bank gave you that much of a credit limit at 0%?
I can't get one.
Out the gate, that's insane.
Like, what's your highest credit card limit?
Like, we're doing some business expenses for the shop expansion, obviously, getting some new counters that are going to be really spendy. And like, how much volume my business does, right?
Yeah.
They approved me for like $11,000.
What's your highest limit credit card?
100,000.
You have 100,000 cards?
Yeah, but like that card, literally, it wasn't one of these things where they gave me 100,000. It was like they gave me 20,000, and then 6 months later, I applied for a higher limit, and then again. And what's crazy is that card itself. I mean, people in the program know because I talk about it. Like, hey, I'm liquidity tapped. It's the most infuriating thing because I'll literally put like $250,000 transactions on it, and I'll have to like pay it off and then put more on it and then pay it off and like split multiple payments. And it's just such a pain. But the biggest problem is for me is the reason why I can't get it higher is because this is a Chase card. For them to approve it, they need 2 years of tax returns. But my business is so new that I only have 1 year of tax returns that I can give them in terms of like showing the business's, revenue. And so I can't even apply for an extension of anything past 100,000 at this point. So I don't know. It's really annoying that I'm dealing with that. So when I see 0% CC with 100K, like that's crazy. Because even my Amex, which I did that when I got my Roka, which they're known for being way more lenient, like in terms of limitations. I just now got that one up to 50,000, and I've had that card for several years now. And for the first year of the 0% APY intro, I got it like at 20,000, I think is what they gave me at most.
Yeah, I was trying to get mine raised to 100,000, and they didn't do it. But the banker I was dealing with, they had been there for 8 years, and they said they've never dealt with someone with a. That's why, like, someone said in Advil saying he's 150K, and someone said cap. He said, "What's cap?" All I'm saying is, like, the banker I dealt with, who's been there for 8 years, said he's never seen anyone get 100,000 limit. So it's obviously pretty rare. It's not like a normal ththing.
I
You
mean,
have to
I
be
will
doing a lot
say,
of business. You have to have a lot of transactions and have those, like, show like proof of paying off those transactions for a long period of time, which is what they told me. Like, they need to see a longer period of time for me to raise it to that level.
yeah, I mean, at least for me, I think it's different between the like institutions because like Chase is way more strict. I will say that. Amex is way more lenient in terms of their like limitations in which they're allowing people to go up to. I mean, for me, who knows? I could potentially get a higher amount than 50,000, but I use Chase much more than I do Amex because they just give you much better reward percentages. So I haven't bothered trying. Um, I don't know if
Yeah, but I mean,
Amex
as far
wants
as
to
like,
have a 2% uncapped card, that might change. But in the meantime,
L dubs, is it too much? Like, dude, anything held on a card, especially if like the terms coming up with 0%, is too much for me, man. That scares me to death.
I agree with Pokebucks here. The 100K doesn't seem unrealistic because, like I said, I have a 100K card. It's the 0%. That is only something they give you as an intro bonus for most cards. Like,
Yeah, like I said, I don't know how long
yeah,
you've been holding it or how long the thing is, but I would want to get that down as quick as possible if you're getting close to that 0% period. Like, you don't want to be in a position where
yeah, that's a
the
lot
market.
of money to
What if the
0%.
market slowed down and the intro period was coming to an end, and you were having to, then you had to sell things at maybe price points you didn't want to sell them at, or I wouldn't want to. I just don't like it. I don't hold any credit card balances. I literally sell. I literally pay everything off every month. So anything talking about holding investments on a credit card scares me. I don't care if it's 0% or not. It scares me. Scares me.
I mean, I've done inventory on a credit
Of
card,
course,
but of
yeah,
course I
but
paid that off immediately because I obviously bought product and then sold it. But like,
yeah, I mean, I have 30, 50 grand on credit cards a week. It seems like that's normal, but like, they get paid off.
yeah, no,
I'm
100%.
not putting that to hold. I'm not holding that much. That's scary to me.
Yeah, but anyway, I think that's a good place to stop it. Oh, all right. Anything you want to say, Alex, before we get on out of here?
You know what, man? If people spent as much energy predicting or hoping for like a downfall, a market correction, a market crash, people to lose everything, businesses to fail, and just spent that energy on positivity and just like not just Pokemon with their lives, I think you'd all be a lot happier. So that goes out to anyone that's the hating on the market still. Just like put that energy into something productive and not destructive.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of money always when there's a lot of emotions always when money's involved. So
Yep.
it's just part of the game. But all right, guys, thank you all so much for stopping by. Make sure you leave a like, comment down below, subscribe, really helps the channel. Check out Alex, as always, his channel, his streams, links down in the description below. You guys all have a wonderful rest of your Monday. We will see you all next week. Peace.